Yo, what's up? This is Alex with Gray Area. In this interview, you hear from Miss Nine, a German DJ producer, model, designer, and activist. She spent a lifetime devoted to the creative arts and advocating for the rights of others. She has some incredible stories about her first DJ gig, touring with Avicii and Deep Dish, and her advocacy work in developing nations. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more interviews. How's your day going so far?
Good. Actually, it's been a pretty busy week, despite everything is standing still. Yeah, I'm keeping busy with a lot of things, like with concepts. I also work for fashion concepts and brands
Right.
to keep myself busy. Yeah, there's a lot of work involved as well, meeting clients and then drafting the concepts.
Yeah, so you're staying busy. Well, staying busy is not a bad
Yes.
thing.
Absolutely. And the label is also busy. So every day there's music coming in, selecting and collaborations. So since you can't be in the studio with the artist or with the buddies, so everything has to go through mail and through FaceTime calls or other video calls to
Right.
get things right.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I always like to start interviews by asking artists what their musical upbringing was like. What kind of music did you hear in the home as a child, and how'd that contribute to you as an artist?
Well, the music I heard when I was sitting in the backseat of my parents' car was the 80s music. And since I'm born and raised in the east part of Germany, and we were basically behind the wall, so we had our
Right.
own bands, rock bands, indie bands, and I really like Nena. A lot of people know that from 99 Red Balloons,
Yeah.
and to Snap, Rhythm is a Dancer is a little bit later. So the 80s vibe is the music I grew up with, and I have an older brother who took me, who introduced me to house music as well at the
Right.
early age.
Um, so you grew up, did you grow up before the wall fell or after?
I grew up before.
Um,
Before.
so do you remember a time when it was more difficult to get music or it was more difficult to come by like Western things behind the wall?
Oh yeah, I remember that. I mean, I didn't know what a kiwi was. And once it was possible that these Western products were able to come into our area, I was like, oh my God, this is so sweet. This tastes so different. So I ate a lot. And like for example, there was one day for Christmas, we had family in the west part of Germany. So they invited us and they had mandarins and they were so sweet. I never ate a mandarin before, so I
Yeah.
almost ate like a whole net. And I remember the taste up to the day. So once in a while, you have like a specific type of mandarin
Yeah.
where the juice and the meat, everything is like the same as it was back then. So you have like flashbacks, and these things just come back. So that's like bubblegum, the sweet drinks, for
Yeah.
example. I mean, we had our own cola, but then you have products from the West coming, which are much more. They have more color and they're sweeter, and this is a whole new world what opens up for you.
How do you feel like those kinds of experience impacted you as an artist? Because it's really interesting to like go from a space where so much was like kept from you to have like this whole wide world opened up to you.
Yeah, I think I'm actually very lucky to grow up in such an environment. It's also an engineering environment, and we don't need much to actually be happy. And
Mm,
what I remember, my mom could put me into a room with a piece of paper, and I could play for hours with a pen and a piece of paper. So basically, making something out of nothing or
mm,
working with limited tools. And this is
yeah.
when creativity comes to life and starts, when you're limited to tools. And then you just find options, you try and
Yeah.
you go deeper. And it's the same with the music, it's the same with a painter who paints a drawing, and
Yeah.
you just go much deeper into that subject.
Yeah. I sounds like you were conditioned really early on to be a music producer.
Well, I mean, I tried so many things, and when you're young, you don't really know what to do. I mean, I did a lot of things. My mom went always crazy. She's still like crazy today. Um, she works in a hospital. I had to follow her steps for a secure future. I did that for a while, and I worked as a nurse in the hospital. I said, "Phew, we don't really see a future in that, but I want to help people in a different way."
Yeah.
So I rolled into the fashion industry with modeling. I did charity work, especially girls in poor areas, especially also I'm a girl in the male-dominated industry, and I
Right.
know as no other how it is to put your feet in between the door and keep standing up and do what you love to do and where your passion is. And then soon after, I realized, if you want to continue with certain things, you need to know how your body works. And
Right.
so I studied nutrition. From nutrition, the music came, and I always wanted to more. I was like, oh, I'm like a sponge. And then at one point, you sit in a music studio, you create music, you transfer ideas into melodies and frequencies. And then out of the sudden, your circle is complete,
Yeah.
and you can combine all these things with the songwriting and writing in general, and all these things together. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you've done so much where giving back is like a part of the equation. Why is that important to you?
This is the environment I grew up,
Yeah.
and I'm a big believer in when you do things together, you reach so much more people, and people are more happier actually to work in a team. And yet, why should you do it alone? I mean, it's much more
Yeah,
fun to do it together. You're on the dance floor
absolutely.
together, and much more better ideas come to life this way.
Absolutely. What was your relationship like with music before you became a DJ? Because I think you became a DJ kind of later in life, after you'd already tried a bunch
Yeah.
of things. So like, how were you listening to music up to that point, and like, how did you fall in love with dance music?
I think it was my brother who took me into clubs with a very young age.
Yeah.
My mom had 24-hour shifts, and I was alone with my brother, and he was kind of the rookie. Now I'm the rookie. So on school, yeah, we went to these house raves, soulful house parties, and
Yeah.
that is where the seats were blended. And my mom has a big family, so her brothers and sisters, they all played an instrument. Is it my cousin plays a saxophone, my uncle plays accordion, and so everybody played something. And when I was on school, I went to music school. I think I played flute, I played accordion, and I started piano keyboard lessons. But because I was a rookie and did a
Yeah.
lot of sports, I always broke my wrist, so I couldn't continue, and I just let it on the side. And years later, I kind of picked it up, or the DJing, I picked it up very quick, just like 2-3 months before I had my first gig. And I kind of said, hey, this does something with me. And it was one track from Daft Punk, One More Time,
Yeah.
that sold me to the dance industry. And I was like, I put it on final when I came back from work, and I was jumping through the house, cleaning, happy. And after that, I started to start my record collection on my work home, and I never stopped.
What do you remember about your first DJ gig?
My first DJ gig, it was in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
It was on Queen's Day on a boat.
Mm.
And I started with final. It was very windy. I had a half an hour. I was like, okay, let's do it. It was a tryout, and the needle was jumping up and down the whole time. I was like, oh my God, what would people not think of me? But everybody enjoyed it. Everybody had a great time. And I was like, okay, on to the next. And then slowly in my free time, more and more gigs came on my path. And then creating events, that was the key and transition to more.
Yeah. And you moved pretty quickly into like getting a residency at a big nightclub in Amsterdam. Um,
Yeah.
how'd
So
that happen?
that happened also a crazy idea. I said, hey, some friends, let's do something. Let's produce events in the city. And this is actually how I started to create events. One guy was a website builder, one was good in marketing, and is when you bring people together,
Yeah.
it like more and more people talk about it, and it was just small, and then it gets bigger, bigger and bigger. And then we rented locations, and yeah, the rest is history. So that's how I kind of was involved in the first phase of creating concepts and events.
Yeah.
And then we booked A-list artists such as Filterheads, Sister Bliss, Naya Bushwaka, Nick Warren, the more progressive house
Yeah.
guys. And yeah, I was the opening DJ, so I learned a lot from them. So you build up the event like at noon, then in the evening you play, and then you take care of the whole location, and then everybody goes home at 4 a.m. in the morning, and you are there, you have to clean up, put the bottles away, and then like at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you go into your bed. So it was like you did everything.
What an interesting way to like get into the scene too. Like you learned by doing, and
Yeah.
you really put yourself in like the position of like figuring everything out. What was it like to learn things that way? To like, have to learn like in front of people?
It's actually good. You can go to school and study, but if you don't do something with what you study, why did you study in the first place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a doer. I'm an action taker, and this way you learn more. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but from these mistakes, when you actually make them physically and really experience them with hard work, you think the next time I work more efficient. The next time, I don't want to be that exhausted. So you always improve and evolve with time for the better. And I think it's with everything, with every job, with every experience, with relationships, with working on a website or on technology.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that you've done a lot of advocacy work for women and little girls. Can you talk about that for a moment? Because I think that's a really important topic to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. So there is Plan International and Plan Netherlands. These are part of the big international charity rights organization who mainly support children. And we run a couple of campaigns especially for girls, because when you give a girl education, she puts it into the family, and it's like a cycle. And then she puts the education in the kids, and then it grows. And what the parents mostly believe in these countries is, no, we have to send the boys because they have muscles, they are strong, they can build houses. We have to put the education in there, but not every boy is structured and follows this path. So it's proven that when you actually put girls on education as well, there is a much more benefit comes out of that for the whole community.
Yeah.
And we had campaigns for early forced marriages and for prostitution and all this, where girls get sold to people in the big cities as house slaves or other that. And I've seen it with my eyes in India, in Bolivia, La Paz, in all these countries where we recorded and created documentaries to raise awareness. And it is unfortunately out there, and more people should be aware of that it's also such a contrast in a society where we live in, or in a world what we live in.
Right. And having grown up in like a more Western country, that must be a really impactful experience to see some of these things happen and to see the impact on the communities. How have you brought back what you've learned from those experiences into your everyday life?
It really puts you down on the ground with both feet. And this is also how I'm raised and how I grew up in the environment. In the east part of Germany, you have to imagine there are more trees than houses. It's very idyllic, 4 seasons throughout the year. And for example, when I first came to India, and also when I toured with Avicii, we did certain cities, and it was just a shock for me to see like these big contrasts that sometimes you can compare it to the Middle Age and the New Age,
right?
And you think, am I in a movie? Is this real? And it is real, but we don't see it as as when you experience is when you go into a country
Right.
and explore the culture. And that's what I always did when I traveled. I went a day earlier, or I stayed 2 or 3 days longer to hang out with the locals, to experience the culture, because they take you to the local hotspots. And this way you get to know people and cultures much better than when you go just to the touristic places.
Right.
You're right in the middle, in the heart of the happening. And for this, I'm very, very thankful for and all the people I have met and still gonna meet in the future when we are able to travel like as we could again. So it's just beautiful to explore this together.
Absolutely. I feel like the experience of traveling is like only enhanced if you take the extra time to do what somebody that actually lives there would do.
Yes, exactly. And we have senses, and you experience this with your ears, with the music. You experience this with your eyes, and of course, I'm a foodie. I love food. So with the whole lockdown thing, I was like, I cannot travel. So what do? We bring
Yeah.
the food, the cuisine at home, and we cook. So and with the knowledge in the nutrition, especially in a time like now, where you really have to pay attention to your immune system and everything,
Yeah.
you can create so many nice things. And yeah, that's why I also started a kind of a cooking show on YouTube, The Kitchen of Nine, which was just a crazy idea. But yeah, it grew and people are still loving it. So it's a fun thing.
It's so interesting that you've taken on like so many different projects. It's like you never stop working.
What that is when you cannot travel and you're used to travel, I learned the hard way. And I always tell that to people. And I can imagine if somebody works 20, 30, 40 years for a company and stops abrupt and doesn't know how his body reacts or how to work with his body. I think it's very essential to know to balance it. And I always give that as an advice to people who ask and who are interested in. And you can do so much with food. It always comes from the inside. No matter how you feel, like to music, there is something that triggers you from the inside, and you dance it off, you shake it off, or you process it just the way when you listen to lyrics. It's the same with food, and food is one part what comes from the inside.
100%. You mentioned touring with the Vici, and you've also toured with Deep Dish. How did working with that level of artists impact you and like change you as an artist?
It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. It was also the first night when I closed an event in Amsterdam after a big festival. And that moment or that night, a lot of requests came in from labels such as Yoshitoshi, the guys from Deep Dish, and others from the UK. And I was like, okay, I like challenges, so why not take on the challenge? And Deep Dish soon after took me under their wings, and I was able to mix a CD which reached #1 in the US iTunes charts. And then the doors opened, and I before I knew it, I was touring with both of them on their world tour through America, through South America, as an openings act. And we became like family, and still are family. And it's such an experience to play at Carnival, to play these venues, what music can do to people. It was such an eye-opener for me. I mean, it's really hard work because nobody sees what's going on behind the scenes. The no sleep, the no jet lag, the stomach infection from food, or so you basically work in the weekends, you come home for 1 or 2 days, you kind of have time to recover, and then you go again. So I definitely learned a lot from Ali and Sharam, and also from Avicii. I knew him from before he got big, and during as well. We had the same agent, and we had the same residency in Las Vegas at Encore Beach Club. And then you kind of see as well how somebody struggles, and this is maybe a sad thing to say, but I'm always aware of that, keeping that balance between work, life, and what else is going on. But he was such an inspiration, and also seeing how people react to his music was just incredible. I mean, we toured Asia. It was just mind blowing. I might still have these memories so close to me, and it's just goosebumps.
Yeah, you're giving me goosebumps just talking about it. And I mean, you mentioned like a really important point because he was able to spread so much joy to the world, but also it's kind of a tragic story that is something that we can all take away about balance in your life and about maybe pushing too hard and having the right people around you to like make sure that you have a balanced life. How do you create balance in your life?
Well, what I said, I learned the hard way. I was close to a second lung infection, and then what I pulled the trigger. The first one I was just going on, and I didn't know what it was. And even though I was doing a big fashion campaign with Peter Lindbergh, and I didn't want to cancel, and
Yeah.
with high temperature, I was flying to LA and all
Wow.
that together, and I basically was laying low for almost 5 to 6 months to recover. And that opened my eyes so that your body is not a machine. When your body craves for something, you really have to listen to your body
Hmm.
and give it to them, even though it's just a small amount. And because yeah, I'm in the fashion industry as well, and there's a lot of pressure as well for girls and these idols. You have to have like size 0 and so on. Even though if a girl's body is made with curves or with a certain bone structure, yeah,
Yeah.
you cannot just take these inches away. You have them, so embrace them and
Yeah.
live with them. But it's a crucial subject in the fashion and as well in the music. There's a lot of mental health going on. The
Yeah.
pressure, people are not used to it, and there needs to be a much better guidance for people who have talent. But they also have to be open and have to be known about what's going on. And that's when I come back to, you need to know your body, you need to know what works. And to understand your body, you basically have to understand each part. It's not like in mathematics, you need to understand numbers. You have 9
Yeah.
numbers. Oh, yeah, from 1 to 9, these are the numbers. And with the body, to understand the heart, you have to study the pieces to the
Yeah.
puzzle.
Right.
So there's so many components together. And yeah, I think this can be much better guided in an industry like the music industry.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Um, Thank you for sharing that story too about the about like you being close to like kind of breaking down. Because I think that's important for people to understand that like it's not all glitz and glamour. There's a lot of hard work that goes into this. And if you don't take care of yourself, it could all go away in like just an instant. So you really do have to like pay attention to the signs that your body is giving you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can go much deeper in this. And when I started with the music, it just gave me so much joy. And I was like, okay, where will this road go? And I never wanted to give it up. And even though now, you know, a lot of people and artists, I hear they struggle, said, oh my God, we cannot tour, we cannot travel. And what do we do? So I always had like something else to do next to the music or something else to do next to the fashion. So I kind of also studied other components and to have like a kind of a secure in the future, or maybe, you know, go into the artist management, because you have all these experiences and you also do that by yourself.
Right.
So you kind of can give also and can be busy in a time like now to not stress out from, oh my God, what do I have to do? I mean, social media technology is so interesting, and a lot of artists freak out. And some advice I can give them: get to know with what platforms you are on, and to work with them for your audience and the music. There's many people who you inspire, and people want to know more about you.
Yeah.
So take the time and let them be part of your world.
Absolutely. 100%. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk about like the intersection of two of your careers. How did your career and how does your career in modeling like coincide with your career as a musician? Like, how do you see the two being similar?
When I worked fashion shows, I was like, damn, this show exists like with music. If there wouldn't be music, I mean, you have a strong collection,
Yeah.
but a component was missing. So you really need to have like beats in order to express the collection from the designer better. And so also like in a video clip, you have the visual expression and the music, the audio. So these both together make like the whole. And I was like, I want to do something with this. But I started in the fashion, so everything was new. So you kind of roll into everything. And in the fashion, you work in front of the camera. So you have
Right.
a team of 10, 12, depends on what kind of job you work. Is it photography or is it for a TV commercial?
Right.
There are mostly more people are involved. They stand in front of you and all these eyes are on you and you have to perform. So you also have a better understanding of what it is like to stand before and after the camera, because it sights down in so many details. And with the music in the studio, it's not any different. And yeah, these two will always support each other. And yeah, it's a fantastic creative both industries.
Absolutely. I always like to wrap my interviews up by asking people what excites you about the future of dance music.
Oh, what excites me?
Yeah.
Definitely touring, to go back out there and perform for like people to share the energy and the vibes. Like this really excites me at the moment. And also the lockdown and not being able to travel really puts you on your desk, on your chair, to sit down and have more time to think of life, to think of projects. And you think of stories you had always in your mind, in your head, and you carry them with you. And now it was the time to put them on paper or write them down, or to transform them into melodies, new projects.
Yeah.
And even though reach out to new singer-songwriters, upcoming singer-songwriters, who I often hear, oh, we send it to different labels where we didn't have an opportunity, or they didn't give us a chance.
Right.
And there's just so much talent out there what needs to get picked up. And there's so much magic with what comes. I think I produced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks and additional collaborations. So yeah, tomorrow we have a special live stream coming up with 1001 track lists. So there are like IDs in there. I cannot release them because you cannot promote them. So people will have a preview of what's coming next year, or so you just keep lining these productions up until you can, release them to the world.
How awesome. I am so glad to hear that you use this time for creative growth, because it was tough for everybody, but it's also nice to hear that there were people devoting themselves to the things that they love and realigning their goals with themselves. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and with coming back to the fashion and the music, what I also was able to do to team up with brands and collaborate with brands to attach music. And since a lot of things are going more into a healthy lifestyle as well, for more awareness, to team up with such brands who also have to believe in the better. And you can attach the music to it to lift that up as well and share that with the world. And also not only in big dance events, but also at home, like a small community, more like yoga or mindset or meditation. It's all based on frequencies, and it's just beautiful how artists create just content. On the label 95 Music have released some deep house tracks, also from somebody who studies Reiki in Bolivia.
Oh, wow.
So there's so much music coming up and so much talent out there. It's just the music needs to be heard, and then people will, enjoy it.
I love to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing your words and your stories with me. I really appreciate this. It's been great speaking with you, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to talk to me.
Oh, thank you very much. Same for you.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Thank you.
Bye.